I think Churchill is the one that said that success is going from failure to failure without the loss of optimism.
I feel it's our duties to share the lessons we've learned along the way in the service to others. You've taken your life experience, your education, your training, the different things that you've gone through, and you've put it all together. How would you say that you've been able to accomplish that?
It's so very important to understand that that little ant is a part of who you are, and it will stumble and it will fall. And no matter how many times you're going to say, I'm never going to do this again, that one time's going to sneak up again, and you will have to pick up and move up and say, it's normal. It's my little ant. How do I surrender to my big E, right?
What is up, Impact Heroes? Welcome back to the show. I'm your host, Rick Ornelas. Thank you for spending some time with us today because we know time's a valuable resource and we're going to make it worth your while. I appreciate each and every one of you, not just for listening, but for who you are. I know you're sparking change to make the world a better place every day, and I am humbled and grateful for your efforts. It takes all of us doing our part to spread positive change, and that's what this show is all about. Motivating you with stories of struggle, courage, and hope to empower you to make a difference in your life and the lives of others.
In case you missed it.
But now I try to be a little more grounded, where I recognize that if somebody gets a job that they don't like, but it's serving, like it's leading them towards their purpose, then that's okay too. And
Available everywhere you listen to your podcasts.
Welcome back, Impact Heroes. Today we have the pleasure of speaking to our latest iSpark Chain social impact hero, and she is a special one indeed. Our guest today wants to empower you to uncover and resolve underlying problem causes with the best possible solution formula for peace, purpose, passion, and prosperity. That's a lot of cool P's. She knows what you notice is what you create, and she wants everyone to create possibilities. She's been through the struggles and triumphs of marriage, child raising, business building, and has traveled the world, seeing over 40 countries. Ooh, that's a lot. She's honest, driven, passionate, and aspires daily to live through complete surrender to love. She has a PhD in metaphysical studies, that sounds like a lot, is a John Maxwell Leadership Team founding partner, a Theta Healing instructor, master and certificate of science, and if that's not enough, she's a wife, mom, and an avid animal lover and tennis player who also happens to be an international best-selling author. Please welcome the authentic, driven, empowering, and amazing possibility coach, Victoria Rader. Victoria, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much, Rick. Hey, with an introduction like that, I think I'll just, sit and listen. You keep talking, and I'll just listen.
Oh, well, I'm glad you like it. I take pride in the introductions of my guests because they're honoring me with their time and presence. So I want to honor them with a good introduction. So thank you for acknowledging that.
You know what it sparks right away? We're talking about sparking things. So I'm going to be going from spark to spark here. And what this sparks, homeschooled my kids. And my son was really, really young. And I asked him, I said, how do you begin a name? And we were, talking about capitalization. And he looked at me and he just gave me this whimsical look and he goes, Mom, by being born, of course, so it's kind of the same feeling that I have where you kind of like, it's an introduction. And it's like, wait a minute, I'm being born here, it's serious stuff. So thank you.
Yeah, yes, you are. Yeah, because I'm, our audience may not know who you are. And, I had the pleasure of meeting you a few years ago, through another group, which is great. And then, we reconnected to have you on the program because we're following your work through iSpark Change and everything, and you're doing good things. And so we wanted to have you on the show because we see you as someone who's spreading positive change in the world, and your actions have a positive impact on humanity. And that's someone that we consider a social impact hero by our definition, which is also an acronym, which, we can get to through our conversation. But my question to you, first off, Victoria, which I ask all my guests, is we see you as a hero, but do you see yourself as a hero?
I think you would have to define a word hero. If hero is the main character of my life, absolutely, I'm the main character. Okay. I take all the responsibility for all the mess ups, and I give all the glory to my creator. So I am the hero of my life. Do I see myself as a hero to others? If I do, I haven't done my job as well. I want them to be the hero of their own life. I want to be their number one cheerleader and the witness to them being the hero of their life. So that would probably be my answer to that.
That is such a unique answer. We have never had an answer like that on the show. So thank you very much for sharing. The second part, I would say, because others have said, yes, I consider myself the hero of my story, the hero of my life, that type of thing. But the second part, that, you're not doing your job if they don't consider themselves the hero. I do love that, because it shows that your desire to help others to be better, and to help create those possibilities, like we talked about in the intro, that you want others to create. So you didn't get to where you are on accident, and you didn't get there without a lot of work, and like we talked about, the struggles and ups and downs. So share with the audience in how you got to where you are at this point, your story of how you started doing the type of work that you're doing, and going on the path that you're on.
Well, in the beginning, there was a void. No, I'm just kidding. And God said, let there be.
That's going way back.
But jokes aside, I really believe that is where we all start, right? And I think in the greater scheme of things, when we have a luxury of knowing the love of our Creator for each and every one of us, and how it all goes back to the very beginning, I really think that'll be the most compassionate and merciful moment of all of our lives. And so, but I'll just go to the beginning of my awareness instead. How about that?
That's
and I became very aware. I was a very talented kid with very unique gifts. I was born in the Soviet Union. And in the Soviet Union, I'm Ukrainian. I was born there before, Ukraine fell apart years before. And so I kind of was on a wind down of that totalitarian society. And looking back with awareness, what I was grateful for is that being stripped completely of the external freedoms, because, I couldn't choose which classes to take. I couldn't choose which college to go to. I couldn't choose which sport to do, really, because I was petite and I was flexible. So I was a gymnast. You couldn't choose which city to live, because where you were born, you had a stamp in your passport, internal passport, that misallowed you to move. And the luxury of that, of being completely stripped of external choices, was I very early on intuitively understood that freedom is not what's happening around me, that freedom is what's happening within me, and that I am the only person who can choose to remain free. And to me, that meant nobody touches what I'm imagining. Nobody touches what I'm dreaming about. I may not be allowed to speak about it freely outside, but I found refuge within my internal world. And so I truly believe that, looking back, that was the first gift that the life has given me. Because whenever circumstance now externally are suffocating, I can go back to and say, you're focusing on what's outside. You need to withdraw. You need to go back within and start focusing on the inside and finding the inner peace, and then becoming the tool of sharing that inner peace. A lot of people don't know what their purpose is. Mm-hmm. The purpose is not found outside. The purpose comes as a result of connecting to the inner peace of who you are, serving from that place relentlessly, and looking back, your life making sense, and you're seeing your purpose. That's the process. So for me, finding that purpose was incredible, because I was dreaming about, you've mentioned travel, I was dreaming about traveling the world, and it was impossible because we were not allowed to exit the country. A lot of different things have happened, but prior to that, I would go to bed dreaming, seeing myself standing on the Great Wall of China, imagining myself in Taj Mahal, seeing myself in the Great Pyramid of Giza, and now 47 countries later and heading into Giza in November for the first time.
Cool.
I'm able to say that what you visualize internally and surrender externally to your Creator, knowing that the best and highest will be provided for you and through you by your Maker, by God, great overall designer. When you surrender that, miracles unfold that you could have never dreamed of, you could have never set goals for, and you can stand in awe of it unfolding through you. So that's, in a nutshell, my journey, the journey of visualization and surrender over and over and over again.
That's so beautiful and so eloquently put. And I love what you shared towards the beginning, where you said, that you discovered that freedom internally, I guess, that internal freedom. How old were you when you came to that realization?
Looking back at this point, there were several points when I knew it, but I didn't know that I knew it. I faced death very early on. I was 2.5 when my uncle died. I was 5 when my grandpa died, and also 5 when I lived through a very horrific experience of a drowned person washing over me in the sea. And so the panic and the fear of life has set in. Now I became very shy, wasn't talking to anybody. Now we're talking about Soviet Union, there's no therapy. And I remember in that quiet space, sitting there, and for the first time it clicked, I can't talk to anybody, but I don't have to be quiet. I'm going to be talking to somebody who loves me and can comfort me. Now, I didn't have a name for God at that point. There was no God growing up, but I started talking by seeking comfort. And I believe that was the beginning of unaware freedom. Aware freedom was I was about 11, and a well-meaning teacher looked at me, and we had one choice, and that was to choose the foreign language to study. And with every fiber of my being, I knew it was going to be English. And I was very talented mathematically. I do have one of my degrees in statistics still. And so she was a mathematician. She pulled me aside. I was competing at the, math Olympics. She pulled me inside and she said, "Why are you putting in for English? This is stupid. We all do German here. And besides, neither English nor German is going to serve you because you have brain for math. That is where you're going." I came home. I was crushed. I told my mom, I said, "I feel this. I feel like I've got to do English." And she said, "Well, will you allow somebody else to live your life for you?" And so against the, and I believe that was the first time when I listened to that inner knowing that I've come to identify as the Spirit's voice, and to follow it. And I believe that is the definition of freedom. I think the definition of freedom is finding the answer within you that aligns with what you're born for without knowing what it is, discovering it through following that voice and following that answer. So that's the aware point.
And the reason I asked, Victoria, is because it's still quite young. And I gathered that it was, that you were quite young when you came to that realization. And I'd say there's people that never get there in life, that they never realize that, they never get to that place. They live through a life trapped by, things like fear and insecurities and, and living the lives that others want them to live, or the lives they think that they should live. And you made that conscious choice at a young age, which, allowed you to travel to, all these countries, and which is amazing. We could probably talk about that for an hour, but I want to go back to what you were talking about, purpose, because that's something that fascinates me. That's something that for myself, it took me a while to start creating that purpose in my life and start really living in that purpose. And I feel now I live in my purpose every day, which is to love and give and serve. And, offline, we were talking about, our trips to Israel. And actually I got my one and only tattoo, which is a crucifix and says love, give, serve, in Israel last February at the oldest tattoo parlor in the world, but which is a whole different story. But I share that to say that it was much later for me, right? It was much later for me to really feel, that purpose and creating purpose daily and living in it and being fulfilled by it on a regular basis. So how did it evolve for you, or how did that strength of purpose and, that passion for that purpose within you grow? And, what do you feel, if you can sum it up in a couple words, what your purpose is, today?
I would agree with you. I believe all of us have one and one purpose only, and that is to live through love in the best way accessible to us. And that purpose then expands through each one of us in a unique way based on our talents. And a lot of people misunderstand it, and they think what they do, how or when they do, or what they leave behind them as they do was their purpose. And I think that's tragic. So I think once you understand that purpose is easy, you've got to love in the best capacity that you're capable of. And for me, love stands for life originating vibrant emotion, or energy in motion. because you can complicate love. What is love? And to me, it's very simple. If it adds to life and it makes it thrive, it is love. And if it subtracts from life, it diminishes or harms it, it no longer is. One of my favorite quotes actually is that from Christ, where he says, I'm come, and it's not I have, it's I am come. And there's a reason for that. He says, I am come that they might have life and that they might have it more abundantly. So if he has come, I believe that is the purpose for humanity. We have come that we might have life, and some of us forget about it. Why? Because we're chasing abundantly. But yet some of us have forgot that we are to have it abundantly. And so it's this gorgeous balance. So I think the purpose is to live your life and to live it abundantly. And that is a definition of love for me.
That's a beautiful definition. And it's a perfect segue, because that was literally what I wanted to ask you about, because, reading through, how you define love, life, originating, vibrant emotion, that's something that is so unique and that I wanted to ask you about. So how does that manifest itself in your work and in your daily life?
Yeah, I work with energy, and it's been really fascinating because, listening to that inner voice, I've become very passionate on understanding that for a while I've walked in two worlds that seemed to not communicate with each other because they were self-absorbed and judging each other. I am obviously, as you can tell from my very open conversation, I'm a Christ girl. I live a Christ-centered, Christ-loving, life. But I'm also a PhD with metaphysics, which is energy modalities, energy healing. And in my mind, there was never a conflict. In my mind, very simply, it is one and the same. Because when God says, I am light and I am love, he actually means it, But
I agree completely.
But for a lot of people, it's anything esoterical, any metaphysical, anything mystical, anything that's misunderstood must come from the evil or from the bad, and it just fascinated me. And so for me, to understand the two, I understand that everything that we are is energy. Einstein has proven it best. Our matter is slow down energy. We are energy. Our spirit is energy. Our body is energy. It's simply who we are. You can close your eyes and pretend it doesn't exist, or you can say, wait a minute, if this is how the worlds are created, for me and through me, then I better learn how to work with it. And so my passion for working with energy, for energy modalities and energy healing, understanding the laws of creation, the laws of energy. Because when Christ says, I'm come to fulfill the laws, it's not just Mosaic law. He doesn't say Mosaic law. He knows about the Mosaic law. He says, I've come to fulfill the law. So the girl here says, which law? Which law has he come to fulfill? And I'm starting to understand that they are laws. He has fulfilled the law of gravity. He walked on water. There's not a law that he hasn't fulfilled. So it became my passion to discover universal laws and to understand that we either work with them or against them. And if we work against them, we are punished by them. If we work with them, we're supported by them. And that's become kind of the passion of discovery of this path of living a life, of energy, understanding. And so emotion comes from Latin emovere, which is disturbance or energy in motion. So when we feel something, we're simply experiencing a wave of energy going through us. And if it is a low frequency, heavy energy, we will feel a certain way. And if it is a high, beautiful, tender energy, we will feel a different way. So just to understand that feeling something doesn't make you that is huge. That feeling anger does not make you an angry person. Huge, because you might be picking it up from the room if you're empathetic.
And that's something that there's been Dr. Rob Kelly, who I've had on the show, he talked about that a little bit, right? About, separating kind of the feelings from, the brain and everything. And it's all very, very fascinating to me. And I agree with you completely that I've never had, it's never been a conflict in my brain either, to understand energy and understand science and to understand that it's all one and the same. And you hear people that say like, oh yeah, if you and I interviewed someone this morning. We were talking about this, that, oh yeah, you can, whoever you look to, God or the creator or the universe. And it's like, well, the universe is God, because the universe is God, and that energy that's contained within the universe and, the particles and all of that, it's all a part of the love and the emotions and everything is how I see it. And so I want to ask about something you were saying a minute ago, where you were talking about how people are viewing, oh gosh, what was it? It was about how people are kind of, you talked about the low frequency and the high frequency, but before that, you talked about the ways that, either is something maybe necessarily bad or something good. What are some examples of ways that people could understand that a little better, of, this kind of energy exchange, or how that's going to represent itself?
It's a great question. Interestingly enough, English language describes life as energy exchange and flow without us realizing it. But now you cannot unknow what you know. So now that I will reframe it for us, you will use it and you'll be like, oh my gosh. So when you are low on energy, when you're tired, what do you say? You feel, I'm drained. What else is drained? A battery, right? Or when you feel full of energy, what do you say? I'm charged up.
Yeah.
I'm energized. I'm charged up. When you come into the office, when you look for the person who's the boss or the CEO, you're asking for who is in charge. Why are we saying who is in charge? Because they are, quote unquote, the dominant frequency in the business. Their presence dictates the overall energy in the business. And who's in charge will either power up, here's another word, wow, power up, or drain and exhaust us, right? So we use the language all the time. This is my language that I've understood through an incident when I was a kid. I was about, everything happens between 5 and 6 in my life. I don't know why. Or maybe that's when conscious mind kicks in and I actually start realizing life happening.
The ones you remember, the things you remember.
Yeah. But I was a little kid. I was playing. My grandpa was watching me, and I pulled a hairpin because my doll needed a hanger for her dress, and I couldn't be more creative than that. I pulled a metal hairpin out of my head, and I stuck it in the socket in the wall. Now, gratefully, I did not get electrocuted. The fuses blew, and so did my grandpa running in, and screaming at me. But what saved my life was resistance. Resistance saved my life. So I want to bring that all as an analogy so we can start applying it immediately in our life. There's the same amount of power, energy, coming as electricity to the whole home, to every single socket. So the input is identical. The input of power is identical, number one. Number two, the output, how bright each device shines. The 100-watt light bulb will be 100 watts bright. The 5-watt light bulb in the fridge will be very dim. The input of energy is the same. The output is dictated by internal resistance to energy. So when you understand that, then you understand that all of us, it's fascinating actually, our mitochondria produces 10,000 times more energy than the sun, gram per gram.
I've heard that, yeah.
So the energy coming to us and through us is immense. We are born to shine. We are born to spark. But the internal resistance to that energy will determine the output that we're giving out. And so when you're feeling drained, you are resisting the light you've come to be. It's exhausting. It's exhausting to resist the light you've come to be.
You said at the beginning, it's fascinating. You said at the beginning that, you kind of know what you know when you explain this. It all makes so much sense. It all makes so much, I'm sure you heard that before, but Victoria, it all makes so much sense because I think about times where, let's say I've been, in some type of argument with my wife, and, we've been together more than half of our lives. We've been together 27 years, right? Both of us, we've been together longer than we've been alive.
I have to pause you. When did you get married? We're 27 too.
Really? In 96. So we celebrated 27 in June.
June. We're February. Okay, well, continue.
Okay.
Sorry.
So you got USB, but if we have a little argument, right? So we're very connected, right? We can very connected. And if one of us, we have an argument, if one of us is disconnected, then you feel that, and that has a drain, that has a pull on that energy, if you will. And now that you've explained it, as I'm using all this language, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm using the appropriate language. It makes complete sense. But it's always fascinated me. And I read some research a few years back on a study of, and maybe you've read this, but it was a study, I believe, on photons. Photons or electrons, I think photons, but they had them it was like a particle accelerator, and they took some and they separated them, and then they put them hundreds of miles away or something like that. And then they would stimulate these over here, and the ones that were separated, they would be excited, way over there, which showed that once energy is connected, it's always connected. Mm-hmm. And ever since then, whenever, I'm thinking about someone and they call, I'm not surprised, because I was thinking about them and we've been connected in energy. And so that's, we'll forever have that connection. What are your thoughts on that? Or if
the entanglement theory that you're describing very beautifully, the entanglement theory, and it no longer is a theory, right? Once it's proved, it becomes science, only to be changed later with greater science, obviously. But I know that to be true, not only because it is proven. And, I would say that the temptation right now is to know something to be true, whether it is proven or disproven. And, we know the truth by the peace inside. So that's very important.
And faith.
So if something is spoken and you have quiet, still, peaceful feeling inside, that is truth. And so when we are one, and that is the truth, we are one. One doesn't mean the same. The confusion of oneness today in the world, I believe, is the desire for sameness. One does not mean the same. The eye does not have the same function as the liver, thanks heaven. So we are one. And the more we know who we've come to be, the healthier boundaries of our expression we have, the healthier the energy becomes. How do you get to that point? Rewind. Express love in the best way you're capable every day. Trust that if you do, it will guide you to self-discovery that is deeper than any book you will have ever read. And that is just the truth.
And I hope that our audience, I hope that they take that to heart. And for those that are still struggling to find that or to come to those realizations, that gives them some enlightenment. There's another word for you, some enlightenment.
No, right? There's no going back now, my friend.
There's no going back now. Yeah, I'm gonna forever think of all these things. So share. I wanna respect all the brilliance that you have. So share some of the ways that you help people with some of the things that we've discussed, and some of the ways that you are a hero to others, and some of the ways that you serve them.
We have so many products and services that when I have a luxury of a question like that, I ponder to know what will serve everyone the most. And I think what I'd like to share is our quantum freedom and how that helps people. In December 2019, I had a very strong prompting that I had to take all my training online. That was insane. I have a gorgeous office. It sits comfortably, 20 people, uncomfortably 40. I'm in a studio recording this right now. But having ignored that prompting and having lost a lot of money, friends, and other things, I decided to follow it. So by January 24, 2020, I launched a subscription community online. And then by March, the world shut down and my business was completely unaffected.
Great timing.
Because it's not mine, right? Because you're just listening. So the Quantum Freedom is our 3-level subscription program that helps, because I'm passionate about freedom and I'm passionate about lighting up a person from within. And that's what it helps. It helps you identify what dims your life. It gives you very practical and spiritual tools to shift out of that and to go from survival to stability, to success, to significance. From survival to stability, we give you habits. From stability to success, we provide mindset shift. And from success to significance, it's a change of heart. So depending on which area of your life you seek the next level, first you get the clarity that you can be in survival in your love life and thriving in your business, in success, and yet you're trying to, do the same methodology for different level of development in your life. So just knowing clearly where you are, you then know what the next level of freedom you can obtain. And we have that program at 3 levels of subscription, making it accessible to anybody on any budget. Now, when you look at that, the lowest one is called Aware Me. The middle one is Active Me, and I'm not going to go into detail about them. And the highest is Abundant Me. But all of them have the little M, big E. And that is a daily reminder to me of who I am as a human being and who I choose to remember and see everybody else. Because there is a part of me that is a little M, which is mortal matter. Yes, dust to dust. There is mortal matter in me that manifests materially. I've got to have food with my meals. I've tried it both ways. Meals with food are better than meals without. So there is that mortal matter manifesting materially, the scared part of us. And yet there's also the eternal energy, and that is the essence that is expanding. That is also me. That is my divine me, my sacred me. And so then the journey of empowerment and quantum freedom is knowing how every day to surrender your mortal fears to your eternal faith, your material to expansive, your matter to energy. And that is what we do for our clients by finding where the scared parts are and equipping them to be absorbed into that sacred part.
Thank you for explaining that, because it without knowing, as I said in the beginning of the show, Victoria, is that HERO is an acronym. Is that you honor your purpose, you engage your audience in your mission, you ripple your message out to spread positive change, and you open your heart to the world. And in describing, just the quantum freedom and how you help people, you've essentially ticked all those boxes of what you do, of being a hero. Sometimes I have to convince people of a hero. We kind of walk through the steps, just in explaining that you've checked them all. But I want to go back to the rippling their message to others to share positive change, because a big component of that is that all of us, our message, our life stories connect us in what I call our beautiful flossomeness, because we're all flawed and we're all awesome. And I feel it's our duties to share the lessons we've learned along the way in the service to others, because that's going to help them on their journey. It seems to me, as we near the end of our conversation here, it seems to me that you've taken your life experience, your education, your training, the different things that you've gone through, and you've put it all together at Flossomeness to share those lessons and the things you've learned along the way in the service to others. So for someone that is still trying to figure it out, right, how to put it together, or they're far earlier along in their journey or something like that, how would you say that you've been able to accomplish that? If you agree with what I'm saying.
I agree with everything you're saying, and that is, it's very important. I think Churchill is the one that said that success is going from failure to failure without the loss of optimism. Mm-hmm. It's so very important to understand that that little am is a part of who you are, and it will stumble and it will fall. And no matter how many times you're going to say, I'm never going to do this again, that one time's going to sneak up again. And you will have to pick up and move up and say, it's normal. It's my little am. How do I surrender it to my big E, right? And so it's just very important to use what's coming in much stronger than the message I was going to say, actually, is what I'll share, is that unworthy life does not define your worthiness. Unworthy life defines your memory of how worthy you are of God's love. And so whatever you've gone through that you want to let go and forgive, you've got to let go and forgive, because forgiving is for giving it into the grace of a better outcome and for giving space for your light to shine. So if there's something in your life, because if you're stuck, if you're not moving forward, if you feel you lost, there are things you regret more than things you're ready to create. And the grief and the regret prevent you from discovering and creating. So today, you can say, everything I've done was to remind me that it's unworthy of a divine soul that I am. And I'm going to do my best to spend today remembering that. And I know I'm going to fail, but at least I'm going to refocus. That's what I do. Every time I fail, every time, regardless of all the knowledge, knowing, success, struggle, every time I fail, I say, okay, there it is. It's unworthy of you. It's okay, because it's unworthy of you. Remember who you are and forgive and move on. And that would be my greatest advice to anybody.
That's perfect. That's great advice for anyone. And I can see people taking that to heart and, and running with it. I do have a follow-up question. Getting to that point, was it easy for you to get to that point, or did that take a lot of work and effort for you to get to that point?
It's very simple, right? It's never easy. It still is not easy. I don't think it's supposed to be. And I think telling yourself that it's, the parable of a faith comes into mind. Faith is like a little seed. If planted, it will grow, right? God took faith by planting us into this soil of life. Talk about great faith. Here, this little seed is going to grow. So if you think of yourself as a little seed, yes, in the beginning, it's very hard because you have to crack open. You have to crack open and say, I have no idea. And I'm broken and broke. And that is the only foundation of opening up to grow. And then you think the next stage, that little seed has to grow. It has to go through the dirt. So there's a lot of dirt. There's a lot of tightness. There's a lot of darkness. You got to keep going until you see the light. And then you see the light, and that little sapling is so excited to be in the light. But guess what? There are winds, there are animals, there's dangers. So what happens, you keep growing until, quote unquote, you become a mighty oak. Is it easier? It feels easier. Not because life is easier, but because you are stronger. So maybe I don't like the word, does it become easier? It feels easier, not because it is, but because of who you are becoming. So wherever you are in your life, maybe you're deep underground, terrified that people will discover that you don't have what it's got and it's got to open up and crack open. Or maybe you're a big tree. That is the process, and just honoring that. And the second you go into the new area, for me, going out of real estate, number one agent, blah, 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 into coaching, here was the mighty oak that was cut down and started as a seed again. So, yeah.
And I think a lot of people go through journeys like that. And the analogy, it's a beautiful analogy. And I think it illustrates the point very, very well. Because a lot of people just want to be the mighty oak. They want to be at the top. They want the shortcuts, especially in today's world where everything is kind of handed to everyone, with the snap of your fingers on a silver platter, and everybody wants that shortcut. And the ones that have the true success and the longevity, like yourself, are the ones that realize, no, it's going to take work, and I have to, break through the dirt and be the uncomfortable sapling and everything like that. So thank you for sharing that. That is fantastic advice. Appreciate that. So I want to ask a question. Well, first off, where's the best place for our audience to find you? We'll put all your links and everything in the show notes, but where's the best place for our audience to find you and connect?
If you are a Facebook user still, then freeme.coach is our free Facebook group we just launched, literally, for mindful entrepreneurs. If not, then always my website, shine.com, you to shine, spelled with YU.
Fantastic. We'll put all those links. Thank you very much. So a couple final questions that I ask all my guests on the program, because these I feel are very representative of that journey that heroic journey that we all have to go on. And the first one is that we've coined a term on the program called a spark moment. And these moments in life are when our actions or someone else's actions have a ripple effect that goes far beyond the initial act. So it's something that either someone interacted with you, it could be the advice that your mother gave you, when you were young, as an example, or it could be some way that you've impacted someone else. And then you don't always see the results of that, but maybe later you look back and can say, wow, that was a incredible thing that, this happened. And that was the initial spark. So share a story of positive change. It's an example of a spark moment in your life where, someone impacted you or you impacted someone else.
Yes, that story became very apparent to me as you were describing what you're seeking for. And that is quite a few years ago, probably, 5, 6 years ago, a person that up till then I've spoken maybe 3 times total, called me up. Oh, I get emotional. And she said, you're the person that's changed my life the most. And I'm sitting there thinking, I talked to you 3 times and I don't remember what I said. And I said, well, can you tell me more? I mean, I'd like to know what happened. And she said, well, you probably don't remember this, but, we were in the same church. And when our little girl was born, she was born, 20 plus years ago with a Down syndrome. And when we brought her in and her little face looked a little off, and she said, and everybody was so cautious. And everybody was trying to say the right thing. And she said, you came up and you said, can I please hold your precious angel? She said, I handed her over to you and I could see her through your eyes. And for the rest of our time with her, I've been seeing her as the precious angel. And this is why it sparked me, because I realized that we impact life the most when we intend to do so least. When we're so one with the moment of love, that our ego doesn't register it to pat ourselves on the back. So yes, I intend to produce and to have sessions and to do this great work, and all of that is wonderful. But the greatest impact and the greatest purpose, some of us might have lived already. And we were so genuinely in that moment of love and giving that I believe we've sparked so many lives that are currently outside of our awareness. And yet one day, I believe when we cross this mortal veil, we will understand how meaningful our life was.
That's truly beautiful. And I really appreciate you sharing the story, because I think it's illuminated something for me. And now I've always said, as I said just a minute ago, that most often with a spark moment, or many times, that you don't always see that ripple effect. You don't always see the impact that it's had, or maybe just very little, right? You don't see the full impact that it has, and it continues to go beyond our perception. And I think what you said really amplifies the beauty of a spark moment, is that we never intended it. We weren't trying to, to show off. We were just trying to do something just out of love and kindness. And those were the biggest moments. And thinking back of the spark moments that people have shared on the program, and I've had 70 or some odd interviews. If I look back and I analyze them, you're a scientist. If I analyze them, I would bet that the majority of them, the person that wasn't their intent, they weren't trying, probably all of them, that they weren't trying to do any grand act or anything. They were just giving advice to a teenager, or they were just helping a coworker, and I'm just thinking about some of them, right? Or they were just doing what they do every day with clients, or things like that. And I think about the ones for myself, and that's exactly it. That's exactly the case. And so I just want to thank you just wholeheartedly for illuminating that for me, because I've never seen that. I've never seen that aspect of it. And it shines a whole new light on the spark moment. It's really beautiful.
Well, thank you. I'm grateful that we've had to share this spark moment together.
Yes.
Because it was also unintentional.
Yes, because, I've said this before on the show, is that, and I told you at the beginning that I don't script anything, because I just feel that the, Holy Spirit will just guide our conversation, and it's just going to be what it's meant to be. And, and that God will bless it as he intends. And so that just came up, right? Just like it came up. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. I've loved it. Yeah.
So one final question that we ask all our guests, and that is that Our goal at iSpark Change is to positively impact 1 billion people over the next few years with our future social impact social media platform and through our community. And so we know we can't do it alone. We know we need the help of impactful social impact heroes, leaders like yourself to help others, show others the way, because a lot of people feel, as I once did, that they're too small to make a difference, that they, can't have an impact, that they aren't going to change the world. So I value your thoughts and opinions as a social impact hero, and I'm going to ask you to peer into the iSpark Change crystal ball, peer into the future, and share your thoughts on what can the world become if everyone starts believing that they are that light and that they can have an impact on our future.
I think that ultimately, I have to share this, and I know we're close to the time, but I have to share this. From my many healing sessions, one of the most tender ones, the most poignant ones, was the one that I was doing for a little girl who experienced drowning, who happened to be my sister-in-law's niece in Brazil. She was 18 months old. She almost drowned, and for over 18 months, we've seen very slow and steady improvements until God chose to take her back. And the agony of that and the desire to understand the journey. But I understand the gift of that, because in one of those moments of witnessing the healing, as I was doing the modality that I know how, I was meditating and I could see all of these tiny sparks of light being aligned together. And they were just created in this beautiful space. And I've asked God, what is it that I'm seeing? And God said, this is how the prayers work. When there is enough of a light map, the energy of creation is called upon and becomes materialized. And every time there was a tiny prayer said for that little angel, a little light would come in. So we are all connected, not in a brand new Christmas tree sense of where one light goes out and nothing happens. We're connected in an old Christmas light, chain. When one of us goes out, the expansion of light is interrupted. It's just interrupted. And then, so you do not have to be the brightest light or the star on the tree. Let the star be the star. But without you being the light, the whole world is in darkness. And so this is what I see for iSpark Change. I see different levels of lights being brought together, owning their current capacity, shining it brightly, and bringing the world out of the darkness that is currently experiencing to the great degree and into the light that we've come to be. That is what I wish for, will pray for, and visualize in my little world of energy modalities. But that's what I see for your podcast and movement.
Well, thank you so much, Victoria. That truly means a lot. Appreciate it. Well, thank you for taking time to share your heart and your wisdom with our audience, Victoria. You came in and you over-delivered as I expected. Your desire to impact others is evident, and you're filled with passion, empathy, and you lead with a heart of love and gratitude and service, which tells me you'll continue to have success in all facets of life. And this is only the beginning of your time as a social impact hero.
Thank you so much, and good luck. God bless in everything you do.
Thank you. All right, Impact Heroes, it's our stories that connect us all, and we loved hearing Victoria's today. Victoria Rader, you are not only an inspiring and amazing human being, but you truly are an iSpark Change social impact hero. We'll see you all next time.
Do you want Rick to speak at your event? Here's what others have to say.
Did not know his story, and it was so inspirational, and his presence on stage, his authenticity was just incredible.
Absolutely loved his performance. It made me feel some type of way.
If you're looking for a speaker for your next event, hire Rick. I promise you this, you will not be disappointed.
Visit rickcornelis.com to book him today.
Remember, Impact Heroes, every positive action can be a spark moment that has a ripple effect that spreads far beyond the initial act. So go out there and spark change. Don't forget, if you enjoyed this episode, then please smash that 5-star rating on iTunes or Spotify and leave a review. We value your comments and we want to hear from you in the community. Thank you for listening. God bless you, and we'll see you next week on the iSpark Change podcast.